Ooh. Ooh. You know, sometimes you just got to say to your hair, do what you want.
I do that every day.
I can tell. It's all this bloody humidity. It is humidity. I just can't go on. I can't control my hair. But anyway, welcome. Thank
Sunday
you.
chat.
That's right. Bye. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with us here on Sunday the 20-something... 29th. The reason I don't know what day it is because we're recording this early. Very, very early.
Not in the day.
No, you're telling me.
Yeah.
This is my nap time.
Yeah, it is
So
actually.
Forgive me if I suddenly just curl up and fall asleep.
I'll have to take over the programme then.
Well,
yeah.
just have to cancel it then, Paul, if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
It is though, isn't it? Like 2 till like 4:30 is your nap time, really.
1:30 to 5, I think you'll find. Not really. No, I try to be careful. I try not to have
Too long.
2.5 hours. No, I try to keep it short. But sometimes that doesn't work. It depends on whether the sleep cycle is interrupted, as it was with your Amazon parcel the other day, Paul.
Oh yeah.
I literally went to the door like this.
So
I'm not
no
kidding.
different to usual. Oh,
Rather
dear.
than hello, it was like that. He said, Amazon parcel for you. I think he thought I was terribly ill.
Yeah.
But anyway, anywho, Paul, shush now, you're taking over. Honestly. God. Let's get the book out and see what we're talking about this Sunday chat.
Sunday chat!
Which isn't really Sunday at all. But the reason being is we have some other commitments this weekend, which obviously take priority.
This weekend.
We have to balance things.
Yeah. Life balance.
We have to balance things.
So,
So, welcome.
have we passed our midlife?
Oh gosh, yeah.
When's midlife?
We're old now.
Is that 40s?
No, I think we're in the new
Midlife.
middle age.
Middle age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because 50 is the new 30.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, which means 60 is the new 40.
I mean, it's going completely off track. It is odd when you watch things like the Golden Girls and other TV programmes and you think they're the age that we are now, you know, but when we were watching them, we were sort of thinking them as like 60 or 70 or something.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre, that.
I know.
Yeah.
But of course none of it makes any difference for me anyway, because I'm 39.
Permanently.
So,
Peter Pan.
yes, I'm the Peter Pan of YouTube. Somebody commented that I look much older than you. And I went back to them and said,
Really?
I think you need your eyes testing.
I think they do need their eyes testing, yes. Yes, but thank you for that comment. It was well worth 10 quid spent by
Don't
me.
encourage it.
Yeah.
Don't encourage it.
Yeah. Well,
Seriously.
on a good day, in wonderful lighting,
In
when
fog.
I'm looking my best, and if somebody's got a bucket over their head, then I might look younger than you. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm letting my cataracts develop, so I'll have you in soft focus.
Won't be able to see the creases.
When I have them done, maybe you'll be on your own then.
Yeah, but you have a secret when you're filming yourself, don't you?
Well, yeah, I always use smoothing.
He uses smoothing.
Of course I do. There's no smoothing on here.
Oh, isn't there?
No, not on
right.
this.
Okay.
On my phone, there's always smoothing. Of course there is. I'm not a complete moron.
Well, I am, you see. He put smoothing on my phone one day and I was
And you look
editing
beautiful.
and I thought,
You look
hang on, where have
beautiful,
all my
Paul.
sort of laughter lines and creases gone? And then I realised he played with my phone.
Where have all the wrinkles gone? Yeah, anyway, so welcome to both new subscribers and old wrinklies rocking in the corner, wondering when the next meal will arrive.
Yeah, I often do that. Yeah.
So, yes, thank you for choosing to spend time with us and joining us in niceness.
Is that a bit of what do you call it? Not Frodo.
Yoda.
Yoda. Yeah, Yoda.
Not really.
No.
It's just me being.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Dim-witted. Yeah.
You said it. You said it. I played it. Okay, so we usually kick off with Russian Paul's weather report. The weather in England.
It has been warm, it's been overcast, it's been dry apart from a rainy spell of about 15 minutes a couple of hours ago.
And the other day.
And the other morning.
Good shower.
Yeah.
We walked
and we got
more
wet.
on that in a moment.
But breezy, really, really breezy.
Very breezy. If they had those things on everybody's houses.
Wind turbines.
Turbines. Can you imagine the amount of electricity they would be making?
I mean, in this country, I know they've done a study, or there's been several studies, and actually for each house to have wind and solar would really deliver for the householder. And why it's not just standard practice now that every house has to do that, I don't know. I remember 10 years ago when I was working for a company, I saw... I was finding new things for them to invest in terms of renewables, and this fantastic wind turbine that actually sat as on the ridge of a house. It looked like a tile, but it had blades inside that span, and it really would have been sensible, even if the wind hit it not directly, but at a sort of rather an acute angle. It still worked to 85% efficiency.
Oh, lovely.
And I think it was bought up by it was bought up by a very large international oil company and then shelved. That's what happened to that.
Well, this is what happens. I mean, look at the person that invented an engine that ran on water.
Yeah.
What happened to him? Did he get disappeared? I don't know. I think that's happened a couple of times, hasn't it? They don't want that. And it's so strange, isn't it, that companies would rather focus on pure greed and money rather than the welfare of the world.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, we said about it last week that
Did we?
the petrochemical companies and big energy companies have been lying to us about recycling since the early 70s.
So anyway, the week has been much cooler than last week.
Last weekend. Yeah.
Much cooler start. Nice and fresh for our new regimen of walking every day for 30 minutes, first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
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 We made that vow and we've stuck to it. What?
Sound a bit like the Orange Idiot. Oh dear.
Well, yeah. Well,
anyway,
that's another
so
story
yes.
that we're not going to go into. So if anybody's expecting us to discuss the Middle East,
no.
No.
Leave
We don't
that.
give airtime to any kind of warmongering.
Yeah,
Thank you
exactly.
very much.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, it's been good getting up and getting out first thing. It's meant me changing my regime a little bit in the morning, being at my desk quite first thing. But that's okay.
Well, we managed to do it really early on a couple of days, and there were a couple of other days where we were a little bit later due to various things. This morning's walk was much later because we were woken up at God knows what time by a group of
Youths.
young people
Youths.
enjoying their evening in the street.
Early morning in the street.
Let's put it that way. It's something that we are pretty used to in summer.
The windows open.
With the windows open, it happens from time to time. Clearly there's alcohol involved or whatever, and they're spilling out into the street, and I assume saying their goodbyes from whatever party they've had, which took probably over half an hour to do. Eventually they moved on and we kind of fell back asleep, but then there was an alarm.
Oh yes, there was.
There was an alarm going off at one point, and then there was a plane, but it was not an ordinary plane. This was a high-level jet. I could tell.
It also wasn't at the time that planes are normally flying.
No.
Not over here for Heathrow. They sort of start coming in about 5:30 in the morning. And this was well before then.
Yeah, it sounded like a little bit of a fighter jet to me. Not sure where it was off to or from or wherever, but hey-oh, it flew over. It did. So, also very windy, as Paul mentioned. But apparently we're getting another little heat wave at the weekend.
Yeah. Mainly Sunday, Monday at the moment, they say. Rising Saturday, but then hitting highs Sunday, Monday. So, yeah, lots of watering going on at the plot.
There we go. So,
because the thing is, also, with having not had a lot of rain, you have the issue of not having had a lot of rain. But with this breeze, which is constant, it's a really drying breeze. So, any water that you do put down on the surface, it evaporates virtually straight away. Which is why when you're watering, you should make sure that you water direct to the base of a plant so that the roots can pick it up as it drains through, rather than watering over the whole plant, which basically cleans the leaves, but then when it drops down onto the surface with lots of wind, it just evaporates before doing any good.
But I think sometimes the leaves do like a sprinkle.
They do, and that's what's been good about having just those few bits of rain that we've had. It's been able to get the dust off the leaves, because of course the leaves need to photosynthesize for the plant to be healthy, and if the leaves are dusty, that photosynthesis is reduced. So having regular rain is a good thing to clean leaves. There we are.
Thank you, Paul.
That's the bit of the Gardener's World section
Now,
of
Paul.
Sunday Chat.
Now, Paul, shush now. I want to ask a question, but now I've forgotten the question. What's the question?
Oh,
that's
old
it.
age for you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you talk to your plants?
I do, yeah.
Have you ever tried to get them to touch you with their leaves?
Well, they touch me with my leaves anyway, because I brush past.
Because I saw a video the other day, and they were saying, if you can hear me, touch me with your leaves, and the leaf came down and went like that. Yeah.
Was that Day of the Triffids?
I'm going to try it.
With your spider plant in the bathroom.
It's not big enough.
Well, if you talk to it, maybe it will grow.
I was thinking of trying the hazel, but it would have to be a non-windy day.
Well, yeah, it would have to be. Yeah.
If I do, I'm going to film it and go viral.
I do. I've got two rather large lavender at the plot, and they're on the end of beds, and there's a pathway between them, and there's always lots of bumblebees, maybe a few honeybees, not many honeybees around at the moment, always lots of bumblebees, and I always sort of say, oh, excuse me, as I go through. Of course. And we've got a big lavender out front as well, and we do the same.
Say hello to the bees. Hello, bees.
Because of course, that's the thing. If you're into bees, and particularly if you're a beekeeper, you need to tell the bees things.
Well, the bees need to be told of any births, deaths and marriages.
Absolutely. It's a tradition.
That's right. So, rewind to last Sunday, and we drove down to For Earth's Sake to take part and help out with the Midsummer Rebels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a local event for the community, free to the community, with a little stall selling drinks and some food offerings, and a performance by the Hook Eagle Morris dancers.
Who are fabulous.
Absolutely fabulous and do a great job each time they do an event. They always turn up and rock it. So if you want to see more of that, head over to my vlog, last week's vlog. I'll put a little link here. I had a go at Morris dancing as well, and also did maypole, although there are no clips of that because of other people and maintaining privacy and all of that. But I have included some clips of me as a child in my vlog, which also include me doing maypole at my primary school, which was quite sweet, I thought.
I used to love doing all of that sort of maypole and country dancing at school.
Yeah, I did as well.
It was great fun.
I did as well.
And there was sort of like little sort of square dancing as well that we used to do, which I think actually was where sort of country dancing.
That's the country dancing,
yeah.
Doing your do-si-do.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, I remember we used to do a little bit of Morris dancing. We did country dancing, which I think was like square dancing, and maypole.
Yeah. I think there was a bit of rope dancing as well, you know, where two people hold a rope, like skipping. There was a particular rhyme that we did with that as well.
I don't think we did that as part of the curriculum.
Well, no, maybe it was part of it.
But
I mean, it was definitely teacher-driven.
Skipping was a big thing when we were kids. You had to do like a rhyme and jump out of the rope and run round and then jump back in at a certain point in the rhyme. Yeah. Which, I used to love all of that.
But I think all of that, I think nowadays in schools, and I have no knowledge of this at all because we don't have kids, so when people say year 11 or whatever over here, I have no idea what age they are, you know. But when we were at school, there seemed to be an awful lot of things that you got taught that weren't part of the curriculum, that were just part of growing up and life. And now, from what I sort of see, everything seems to be driven by a fixed curriculum, and I just don't get that, really.
Well, I think there was a lot of traditional games that were passed down through generations that people used to play in the playground, and then you do it at home as well.
Yeah.
So I think the focus was very different. I mean, you know, I think kids still do play out in playgrounds.
Well, I mean, they do. They do.
Hear the local school.
I'm not sure whether they do the things that we used to do, which had been done by generations before.
I don't know.
But I think part of it is that, you know, when Thatcher came in and during the 80s, everything became so competitive that everybody had to win. And then you went into the 90s and the 2000s where everyone was a winner. So I think part of that took away the traditional things because you were then sort of fixed into team sports and individual sports and curriculum. And as I say, I have no idea whether any of that is true, but that's my feeling.
Well, I think there was a period where there were no losers. There were no losers. Whereas when we were kids, you came first, second, third and runner-up.
Yeah.
The rest of you lost.
Yeah.
Because you weren't good enough.
But that was still
That's
fine.
it.
You know, that was still fine.
Well, you had to learn to be the loser.
Yeah, you did.
You had to learn what was called being a good sportsman. Sportsmanship. Being a good loser.
I did see earlier this week that there was a young guy playing a chess champion, and the young guy won, and the older chess champion
threw his toys out the pram.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, people do. But you see, that's the thing. We had to learn to be the underdog at some point.
I learned very quickly to be the underdog. I was always the fat boy left standing. Always.
Me too. I was the one that did not get picked for any kind of team sport because I had absolutely no idea. It seemed like all the other boys in the football team knew how to play football.
Yeah, they had an inner knowledge about this.
They probably knew from their fathers.
Yeah,
my dad wasn't into football particularly, so I was never taught how to play. So I remember just sort of running randomly around, just thinking that's what people did, because to me there was no rhyme or reason to what they were doing at all. But then I discovered that I could run very, very fast. That was my only sporting strength. I could sprint very quickly.
I found out at a relatively early age in the valleys of Gernzie that I could roll down the hill very, very quickly and very, very easily. That was always fun.
I used to love rolling down hills.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it now for fear of rolling into a
dog poo or something like that. Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
But we never worried about things like dog poo or ticks.
No, I don't.
Nobody ever mentioned ticks.
I'm not sure there are ticks in
Well, there are
Gernzie.
ticks in the UK, but there never used to be. I'm sure.
I did roll into a cowpat once.
I've trodden in a few cowpats in my time.
Yeah, but not rolled through one. That was sort of, I think I was about 6. Dad said I was lucky. Yeah. Dad said I was
covered
lucky.
in cow poo.
Yeah.
Lovely. So we've gone off track now, and I have no idea what we're doing anymore.
Anyway, that was the weather report. I think.
Chance of cowpats breaking out all over hillocks across the country. So, we've had a relatively busy week. We were talking about Midsummer Rebels, so we did that on Sunday. And then it's been a relatively busy week so far, video making. You've seen a couple of summer salads go by as well, which have been fun to do.
Absolutely,
because we're enjoying having salads to eat at the moment.
And of course, the lettuce in the poly and outside, they are producing really well at the moment. So we've got lettuce daily if we want it.
And of course, with an increase in video making, there's also an increase in people watching and also watching the adverts. And we wanted to mention a couple of things about the adverts. So some people have mentioned that they never see an advert. Some people have mentioned they see loads of adverts. A couple of people have mentioned about the types of adverts that they see.
Yeah.
So we wanted to remind you, we don't set the type of advert you see, as in which company it is. We don't have any say in that because it's very often determined by your own browsing history.
Yeah. It's determined by your own browsing history or your direct demographic, i.e. what age group, what sex you are, where you live, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because when I've done, with my work, we've done quite a lot of advertising on YouTube with various clients. And you can say you're looking for like men over the age of 40 in London within 20 miles who've got an interest in theatre, let's just say. And then it sorts out which ads which channels you're then going to appear on. So yeah, it's a bit bizarre really. But yeah, it's not our choice. It's actually your viewing, your purchase history as well, and your demographic.
I'm wondering why I get adverts for 10 a man.
Well, you're a man, not necessarily over a certain age.
Exactly. No.
Yeah, because he's only 39.
Yeah.
But of course, young men can have,
Yes, leakage issues.
Drip issues. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we just thought we'd mention that just to clarify. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I used to get adverts when I was buying panty pads and things like that for mum, I would get adverts about those. So, I haven't had those for a while.
How joyous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things to look forward to. So talking about the aging process, I saw an interesting article in the news this week about the creation of artificial human DNA in a laboratory. They've given the go-ahead for this. And it's really interesting. I know people are going to immediately jump on the horror aspect of it, creating lab-grown humans and designer babies. But the positive aspect of it is the research into the things that happen when we age and the diseases of aging, which are really one of the largest issues we've got in an aging population. So if they can make aging a little easier for people in terms of illness and disease, then it actually has the potential to ease up on a whole lot of other things as well.
Absolutely.
Like care, like the cost of care, all of that stuff that goes on as we get older. So really interesting story.
Yeah, it would be interesting to follow it. And of course, anything like that can be abused, like anything.
Yeah.
But the benefits could far, far outweigh.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens, because somebody needs to make progress on those things. As you know, we are living longer and hopefully enjoying older age much more so as time goes on and medical advancements continue to move forward. So the other thing you mentioned, Paul, was it's 85 years ago last week that Gernzie children were evacuated. From Gernzie to England.
I mean, it was I think it happened on the 19th of June, 1945. So if you imagine...
1940.
1940, sorry. If you imagine being told on one day that the next day your kids are going to be evacuated, should you accept that, to be safer in mainland England, which most evacuees were safer in mainland England. And that was, I think Mum went on the last day of the evacuations. I think there were 4 days of evacuating children. Most went with their schools. There were some church groups as well. And of course, quite a lot of parents came over to do that travelling. But it's fascinating to think that 85 years ago, my mum and dad were experiencing their feet in completely unknown territory. I think they both went to the Wirral, and then mum was evacuated or journeyed further north to Keighley. And there are 3 in Yorkshire, and there are 3 videos that we did years ago talking to mum about her experience of being evacuated. And I think that's fascinating. And I remember thinking at the time there were things that mum is saying that I didn't know. And I think over this coming weekend I'll most probably have a re-watch of those 3 videos, because it was fascinating, you know, to think that literally overnight you would be told that for the safety of your children they should be evacuated to hundreds of miles away, which of course has a huge parallel with things that are happening in the world at the moment. But in those cases, many of the people who are the aggressors are not worrying about children either. So there we are.
Anywho, it's time for that intellectual part of the show where we look at the word of the week. Word of the week. Whatwa.
Whatwa.
And this is taken from A Word for Every Day of the Year by Stephen Poole, gifted to me by Vivi Gregory of What Vivi Did Next, Vivi's Kitchen Garden. and Cottage by the Sea. So, broadcast day is
29th.
29th. Well, that's easy. I think that's too easy.
Oh, do it then.
Okay. So the word is imaginarian.
Imaginarium. IAN or IUN?
Imaginarium.
Imaginarium.
Imaginarian.
Right.
Imaginarium.
Well, that's thinking of something that is nice.
Oh, I think that's a bit flimsy description, Paul. An imaginarian is someone primarily concerned with imaginary things. When it first appeared in 1729, it was used negatively to mean a fantasist. The American minister and poet of the American Baroque, Edward Taylor, who died on this day in 1729, employed the word in a long poem, posthumously given the rather off-putting title, A Metrical History of Christianity, to describe Constantine's opinion of the Byzantine Emperor Nicephorus as a vain Imaginarian. Of late, though, the title of Imaginarian has been reclaimed as a badge of pride, maybe because the real world, as it is, seems increasingly crass and toxic, and perhaps also owing to the relatively positive associations of the noun phrase the imaginary in psychoanalysis, sociology, and literary theory. So, the female hip-hop pop band Northern State described themselves in 1,000 Words, 2002, as follows: I'm a vegetarian, humanitarian, imaginarian, not a libertarian.
Well, there we are.
Well, there we are.
Lots of variants.
That was a little bit complicated, I felt. So, last segment of the show, which is quite short. I need water.
I've had water. I had a sip a while ago. Oh, isn't that lovely watching you drink?
Run an advert. Right. TV. We watched a pretty good programme, documentary on Amazon Prime called London, 2,000 Years of History. 3 parts, was
Four
it?
parts.
4 parts.
4 parts.
Really good.
It was
Really
good.
engaging.
It took it from basically, 2,000 years, so Roman times, and the first Roman invasion, right up to the present day. I think it's pre-COVID, isn't it?
It is.
I think it's
2019.
Which is interesting because, of course, we go throughout that 2,000 years, you go through lots of talk, particularly after medieval times, of plague, Black Death, that type of thing. And there's sort of some prescient things that are said, and then we looked at each other and thought, well, the next one was only a year or so away from this programme being made.
Exactly.
So, interesting. Really, really good, actually.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and a mix of different presenters interviewing, people who know their stuff. So, well worth a watch.
I mean, it does come across as a bit of an advert for London.
Yeah.
And it kind of, in a way, does slightly glamorise London as well.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It doesn't, it touches on social history in a number of different ways, and does touch on the poverty that London has been struck with in certain periods, but it doesn't really touch on modern poverty.
No, it doesn't.
And the modern housing crisis. So it kind of glosses over those parts.
But it's interesting to see how it developed and how the Thames
and
has
it's good
been
to look at.
Pivotal in the success of London, as of course many rivers and seas, seaside areas with fishing and things have been important to local history.
Yeah. So that was good. We finished The Power of Parker.
Yeah.
Which is what channel? BBC One.
Yeah, I think so.
And iPlayer.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed it.
I think actually the second series was better all round than the first series, which is unusual for me to think that.
And the only other thing we watched a movie, I guess a B movie.
Not about bees.
Called Out of Time. And it kept me awake.
It did. He didn't fall asleep at all.
I mean, it was fairly,
I mean, consider that we started watching this at about 9:15 and he didn't fall asleep. It certainly engaged him over an hour and a half or whatever
and
it was.
I think it was a fairly sort of cheaply made movie, I think.
Yeah, this wasn't the Denzel Washington Out of Time that was made in the early 2000s. It was a time travel film made about 5 years ago.
But I think, for me, the reason that it kept me is the lead character, who is a female cop. I thought her acting was really good. Mm-hmm. And she engaged me. And actually, I thought the performances were good, apart from the aliens.
Yeah, the aliens
It was borderline slapstick.
Yeah.
So
I think they were channeling awkwardness, if you see what I mean. And it came across as a little bit slapstick.
Yeah, they were inhabiting human bodies and discarding them as necessary. So I think they were showing their uncomfortable feelings around being in a human body. But I mean, it was an interesting concept and interesting performances and a fairly engaging story.
Yeah.
With a little bit of a strange cop-out ending.
And there were a couple of segues which felt sort of elbowed in as well.
Yeah, but it was okay. It was okay.
I've watched many a big budget movie far worse. So yeah.
There we are. That's it for this week's Sunday Chat.
Sunday Chat!
Thank you for joining us yet again for another episode. I'm going off now to have a nap.
Are you going to have a nap?
No, I'm going to edit this.
Yeah, he's going to edit this.
And then I'll have a nap.
And then he'll have a nap. Yeah.
I have to have my afternoon nap when I've been woken up in the middle of the night by feral youths. So, thank you, bloody thank you. Take care, Toodle Pip.
And we will see you, most probably filming on our usual day, for Sunday Chat next week.
Well, you'll see them for your vlogs.
Yes, but we'll see them.
And I'll see you on Wednesday
but
for my vlog.
We'll see them.
Yeah, right.
That's
a whole
the
week
two
away.
of us.
That's a whole week away. World
We.
War III could have happened by then.
Yeah, it could have done. You're right.
And happened and been finished, and
yeah.
we've all moved on to a higher plane.
Yeah.
Whichsoever.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
On that cheery note.